ranches, we really look at primarily the characteristics of the land and the improvements and operational considerations. And most of that is based on comparable sales of similar or like-kind properties. Although that can be difficult because you can have two ranches next to one another, and they can have such different characteristics that a sale of one may not really have an indication of value of the neighboring property. So what we try to do, especially when you're getting properties in the mountains and more alpine settings or the west slope, is you break down the different characteristics. So say sage ground, just general grazing property that's kind of open sage areas may have will have definitely a different value than say the irrigated or sub-irrigated land, which will then have a different value than land that is timbered or forested or in an alpine setting. And then many of our ranches may also have federal and state leases associated with those. And how do those leases impact the overall property? And then of course you want to look at the current condition of the property itself. From an operational standpoint, you'll be looking at, if there are water rights, what is the water infrastructure inherent in the land? Is it flood irrigated? Is it utilizing pivots? Is there, if you're looking at some ground that might be more arid, is there availability of water for cattle to disperse the cattle throughout the property? So you're going to look at some of those things and make get an indication of what those values may be, and collectively add those all up to create a value for the land. Now there are going to be things like rivers or streams or creeks that will influence value, especially if they're a fishery, and things like whether or not the wildlife habitat is really good. So if you're in an area with trophy mule deer or elk, or things like bighorn sheep, then that value for your landscape might be X plus some other value just because of that enhanced value for the recreational attribute. And then of course you're going to break down things like looking at the improvements, everything from homes and barns and those type of things to conditions of roadways, condition of fencing, and just kind of the overall condition. And you kind of add those all up and you stir it in a pot and you hopefully come up with a number that works. And like I said, no two ranches are really similar, but we do have a sense of values typically for different given areas of the various states we operate in. So we tend to know what the base kind of value of that land is for the base kind of property being, the kind of open areas, to the higher end values for the fisheries and the wildlife. And in between then, of course, the values for lands that are irrigated or sub-irrigated.